Good evening, or good morning, depending on what time you watch this. As per usual, I start out my doodles messing around, wasting time, going, what the heck is a shoulder? I don't know, I've never seen a shoulder in my life. I don't have shoulders. Nah, but it's been a while since I posted. It's probably because I wasn't even particularly busy last year. I just don't really have enough attention span to actually finish anything anymore. So I've decided, as one of my New Year's resolutions, Happy New Year's by the way, to start making more videos and to start finishing stuff more on time. Cat, get off the table! Sorry. And now, as you can see, probably if you saw the picture on a different website than on this website, you would know that this wasn't originally supposed to be a half body. This was originally a portrait that I doodled. And then I was like, you know what? We can do something better with this. We can make something impressive. We can make the masses happy. So that's what I did, as I took what was originally just supposed to be a portrait. And later on in the video you will see that I blew it up a little bit and made it a little bit bigger. Also, what's fun is that I've updated my Photoshop for the first time in however many years. Last Photoshop I was using was CS5, and now I'm upgraded to the current one, which would be CC 2018. So, yay, new stuff, new program. It works a lot better than my old one. It's a lot faster and more responsive, although I'm not quite entirely used to the UI yet, but I'm sure I will get used to it eventually. So far all I've done was do the flats and the sketch and then the background, and now I'm doing the shading. I know I should be explaining this stuff as it goes, but like I've made at least 4 voiceover things before this, and every single time should I just go, yes, now I am sketching. Yes, now I am flatting. Yes, now I am painting. Like how many times am I supposed to just say, yeah, now we're sketching, now we're flatting. It's the usual. It's the usual nonsense that I'm on. Always on my usual nonsense. I've not checked, but I'm pretty sure this is one of the longest speed paints I've ever done, and by longest I mean like the original time taken plus the video length. Oh yes, and also I should note that I have also posted the full length drawing process, all juicy 9 hours of this, in a different playlist, which I should put in the description. So if you want to watch me work real time, no matter how boring it is for 9 hours, you can go watch that. It's really fun and entertaining. It doesn't have a single bit of audio, because this is where I do my audio. Because if I had to talk for 9 hours of a voiceover, I think I would probably go insane. Back to business though, so far I've only just done the flats, done the sketch, merged them together, and then I made a rough gradient background, and now I'm beginning to paint. And as per usual, I just zoom in on the face, because that's where all the fun stuff is. I do all the fun stuff first. More fun that way, when you do the fun stuff first. And I just do sort of... I've been trying to get my lighting a little bit better, and I don't know if it's reflected in this picture, but going back and looking at my Elise picture, I think it's already a lot better than what it used to be, because looking at that Elise picture, it's just so muddy and messy looking, and I think I'm much more proud of this picture than the Elise picture. So one of the major things that I was confused throughout this picture, making this picture, was that I couldn't tell what color her skin was. In the splash art, it's kind of a purpley looking thing, but in the actual in-game model, I'm looking at it now, it looks like it's a light white, but I don't know. I just went with purple because that's easier to shade, pretty much. Purples are fun because it's like the warmest color in this entire skin, and I like warm colors. Cool colors I kind of had it hard to blend, in my opinion. Yes, but before I was mostly looking at artists. For the longest time, I've mostly been observing and looking at artists who mostly do cartoony semi-realism. And lately, I've been really interested in studying, like, high fantasy artists with the super eloquent backgrounds and all that. And not that I'm capable of anything as grand as that, but I feel like because I've been observing it, I've been able to improve my artwork from it a little bit more. It's the whole anime and cartoons is gonna hold your art back theory in action, where it's like, yeah, I probably should have been studying actual realism for a while, but better late than never, I guess. Nah, but the way that I alleviated the turning a portrait into a full body issue is I just extended the canvas, and then underneath the layer I just painted a quick little body. Very quick and messy, just getting the flat colors in there because I can just paint it later. So that's what I did. And then I merged the entire document to one layer so that it's easier to fix. Apologies, by the way, for any too much flipping and moving around too fast and whatnot. This is 9 hours I tried to put in a time that seemed okay, or at least not entirely boring to view. Which, according to my timeline right now, it's 28 minutes, but that's still kind of a long time, especially for my little baby attention span. Hopefully it's not too much for everyone else, though. Hopefully they can still enjoy the time lapse. And enjoy what appears to be me taking a really... I guess I just took a normal brush and then did the hair effect, didn't I? I used multiple brushes on the hair this time around. Mostly just using my normal oil brush, which is just the square brush with a little bit of opacity on it. And then that way I can just blend whatever I need to. Mostly I just use the circle brush, the oil brush, and the soft circle brush, that's it. The soft one, the one that you can make all the pretty softies look. Looking at my timeline now, I've realized I'm kind of worthless at explaining my process, aren't I? And that's what it comes down to, is like, I know what I'm doing, but I don't know how to put it into words. I just pretty much zoom in on a part that I think needs work and try to make it look better, and then keep doing that over and over and over the course of a very long period of time. And then theoretically, by the end of it, I'll have something that resembles something other than a small child's scribbles. Of course, that's only a theory, but I think it works. I don't know. Nobody's told me different yet. Very much like to at some point make an actual video tutorial someday, and then now I'm thinking like, how am I gonna do that? I'm stuck at explaining things, given the most normal, easy variables to explain. It's like, I guess if I was doing it real time, I could explain it a lot better than just watching a speed paint of me staring at it for a few hours and having to watch red letter media videos over it. I guess that would make it easier, as if I was watching it real time. Back to how I actually do the art though. So basically, whenever I make a major change, I just make a new layer, make the edit that I want to do. Like for example, right now I'm just cleaning up with the soft brush, and once I like it, I just merge it down once I'm ready. Or like if I need to make an additional shadow or additional highlight, I put it on its respective layer mode, like overlay or multiply, and then I hit merge down. Best part about keeping only one layer is that it's less messy and it's easier to fix. If you only have one layer, it's easier to make adjustments, it's easier to not get confused. And then if you have a million layers, you're going like, what does this do? I don't know. What does lighting number 3 mean? Who knows? It could be the butt lighting, it could be the face lighting, I don't know. There's too many layers. And that's why I'm a simple woman. I like me one layer, and I like to make my adjustments on one on top of it, and then just keep merging and merging and merging until I just make so many mistakes later on that I have to fix it by going, just continuously making more and more layers. But it's easier when it's on one layer, honestly. It's less stuff to worry about, you know? But for a lot of this, I didn't really use too many brushes that were too fancy. I used a couple of texture brushes for like the sparkles on the face and the highlights on the chest, but honestly those sorts of effects can be recreated by using just a normal brush, but by just making the texture yourself pretty much. I have a bunch of brushes I downloaded a while ago from like a bunch of different places. Like some are from Gumroad, some are from ArtStation, some are from DeviantArt, and I just see free brushes and I go mine, and then I never use them except for like one little tiny thing. Pretty handy, like for things like snow and sparkles, that way I don't just gotta slam my hand against the tablet 80 million times. And as per usual, I also made a new gradient layer that has the black and white gradient on it so that I can constantly check for contrast, because contrast is arguably one of the most important things in pictures, I feel. Like if the contrast is too weak or too strong, then it's like it's either gonna assault your eyes with a laser beam of pain and sadness, or it's either gonna make your eyes so sad and depressed that they're gonna wanna go write a new song about it, you know? Like you gotta pay attention to your contrast, otherwise it's just what's the point? There's no point in painting unless you're keeping an eye on that contrast. I don't know how to do voiceovers, but gosh darn it if I'm not gonna try anyway. Doing my best here, I'm so sorry for anyone who's actually bothering to sit and listen through this. Now, another fun thing that I've realized in painting is that lots of things are not one consistent color. Like the hair's not just blue. It picks up a little bit of yellows, it picks up a little bit of greens, it picks up a little bit of purples. So as I'm going along here, I will make like an overlay layer or a color layer, and I will brush in some extra colors so that I can merge it, and it will give it a sense of ambient occlusion and reflection so that it's like picking up the stuff around it like a real material. You know, this skin is a wonderful example of how deceptively complicated Riot Games designs are, because at first I was like, yeah, this is a simple little skin, and then when I look closer at it, it's like, oh, the tail thingies are crystals. Crap. Oh wait, there's a very eloquent snowflake on her chest. Oh great. Oh no, there's a complicated pattern all over her body. Awesome, wonderful. Oh wait, her headdress has extra hidden crystals within it. Thanks, Rito! And you know what? I haven't even played Neeko yet. I have not even played this silly little champion yet for all the trouble I've gone through yet for her. I just drew her because she looked like she was fun to draw and I needed something to draw pretty much. Although I have like 8 million other League of Legends pictures I need to finish, but for some reason I thought, yeah, let's just make another. Let's just throw another one in while we're at it. For no particular reason other than because I like to never finish the things I actually care about. Like I have drawings of Leona and Shyvana that I would love to finish sometime soon, and then here I am drawing Neeko, who I'm like not even particularly attached to at all. But a good example as to why things are constantly changing in art is that this started out just as a portrait and then it turned into a much bigger piece, and that's just a great thing of like, you can change anything about a picture anytime you want, and that's why I love digital so much. I love traditional too, it's just not the same amount of maneuverability. Like, I guess you can still turn a small portrait into a full painting, but not in the same convenience as digital, of course. Which is why I love it. It's why I can go from making a small little thing and actually trying to put in a little bit more effort. For most of this picture, I mostly just used a 10 to 30% brush for everything I did, because the way that it works is if you need to cover up something faster, just use 30, and if you just need to make the slightest of adjustments, just use 10. I never really went above 30 except for when I was doing the large blocking in parts, like on the like when I was adding on the rest of the body, and like right now I guess when I was adding on the snowflake designs, which was oddly difficult because I hate doing tedious little minute things like this. It drove me insane. It took so long. I had to stare at that snowflake and just try and transfer it enough to where it looked a bit like a snowflake without having to put too much extra effort into it, you know? I'm trying to think of what I found the most easiest versus the most difficult, and I guess that the easiest part of this all for me would be the gold parts, because I love shading metals and golds. I think those are way too fun to shade. Like, it's criminally fun. And then versus what would be the most difficult, I guess, being the gems, I guess? The gems would probably be the most annoying thing to me because they have to be so clean and they have to be so reflective, and it's like, that's just so much work. There's so much attention that's gotta go into that, versus what goes into the gold, which is just like, shiny, yay! Yeah, but what's nice about working with those big old paint splotchy areas rather than having any line art or sketch to work with is that you just kind of add it on as you go versus working with what you had, which is, I love that a lot better because it's just way easier to clean up in my opinion than having to work with lines sometimes. But sometimes lines give you the definite edges that you need in order to render properly, so I don't know, it's like 50-50. Oh yeah, and for the longest time when I started this picture, I thought that Neeko only had 4 fingers. And later on, only when I stared at her character model did I realize, wait a minute, there's 5 fingers. But I was pretty sure she had 4 to begin with. So the picture though just ends up being just zooming in, looking at how messy something is and cleaning it up, making the edges hard, making the shadows better, cleaning it up so that the shadows blend properly and whatnot, adding highlights, just zooming in and adding what should be there if it's missing, pretty much, is all that I try to do whenever I render for forever and a half. What I mostly want to work on this year is making way more well-rendered pictures, like with backgrounds and stuff, instead of just 3/4 generic portrait facing left. Which should be simple enough to just be like just taking more time pretty much, instead of just doing a 2-hour portrait painting. Is more 9 and 10 hour level stuff of just making sure that the backgrounds work and contrasts and trying to grow from that and learning more about anatomy and all that instead of just doing faces. Because faces are fun, but they're a bit limiting because you can't make a full picture, and full pictures are way cooler in my opinion than just simple portrait. Portraits are beautiful, but they're not quite as fun as a giant painting of, I don't know, a character standing over a dead dragon. That stuff's pretty cool. That's a good kind of art. That's the kind of art I want to make, is cool fantasy stuff. But so I'm going to try and work towards that more this year and try and see if I can make something a bit bigger and try to grow more than I did last year. I guess last year I was mostly focused on school too much to focus on art as much, because that was like, I'm looking at my art folders from 2018 and it's just way smaller than the year before. The year before it's like 3 times as much art, but hopefully this year there will be 4 times as much art, ideally of course. Who knows what the year will actually bring forth and what my attention span will actually bring forth, but I'm gonna try and sit and force myself and maybe learn to listen to more music and podcasts and stuff while I work, instead of just getting bored and getting up and pacing and going to harass my cats or whatever. And gonna try to focus more because now I have better tools to work with. I have my new Photoshop. I have wonderful friends who can help me and critique me through these troubling artistic times and go through the growing pains of me trying to break out of my monotony, pretty much. Gosh darn it, here I am going on about my personal life this whole time and not even going on about the picture, because honestly I don't know what to say about the picture. I'm just supposed to... It's hard to explain because when I'm actually working, when I record the time-lapse, I'm gonna have so much cool stuff to say about this section. And then I am actually recording it right now, and then I'm what was I doing? Well, during this part, oh yeah, I was watching Star Trek reviews. Which is fun, but it's not really relevant to the picture. And pretty much the way that I go about a simple area, I guess, to be back on topic, is that I render it, I make sure the edges are clean, and then I add the highlights and shadows that were missing, and then I add the reflected area, like the yellow coming from the top of the crown onto the gems. That wasn't originally there in the original sketch because it was just flats before. So then I finally added in the extra stuff that was missing, and that's what makes me go, okay, it looks at least cleanish now, and then move on, and then inevitably I'll come back to it, look at it, and go, okay, I didn't get everything that I wanted, and then do it again, rinse and repeat, and so on for about another few hours until I find a picture that I think looks okay enough to post, I guess. Although I guess what I should be discussing right now is the actual process of knowing which lighting goes where, And then it just breaks back down to, well, just study more pictures, I guess. I look at a lot of fantasy art and I see like light coming from top right hand corner, shadows down in bottom left corner, and then adding shadows being cast from individual areas onto the materials as they would show that. Like, of course, the metals will pick up the lighting more than the clothing, I guess. The hands will be softer versus the legs, because the legs are more of a concise round area and hands are lower in the picture and wouldn't pick up as much light, and so on. It's just knowing and understand how each material reacts to light that I know what to put where, pretty much, rather than just having a constant reference open, which would probably be for better. But I don't do that. I know I should have like a lighting reference open for every single thing that I do, but I don't, and that's probably to my detriment. But I'm gonna try and work on that. I'm gonna try and use more references instead of just winging it. Instead of just winging my lighting and doing generic, like, what's it called? Fong lighting? No, it's not Fong lighting. Fong lighting's how the ball renders in 3D, right? Whatever. Just what I mean of just generic theory of light hits object, casts shadow, displaces light, so on. And moving on to more, okay, how does each object treat that? Nah, but these hands actually took me a really long time. Of course, it's time-lapse, so it doesn't seem like that long of a time, but I feel like it took a long time. It just took me forever to try and get a shape that didn't look absolutely stubbiness. Just absolute stubbiness. Hands are hard. I think everyone knows that already, but I'm gonna restate it again for the crowd. Gonna preach to the choir here when I say hands are hard to draw. They're really hard, and they take a lot of rendering. But I think my end result isn't absolutely horrible. It could be better, definitely, but so could everything else in the picture, I guess. I'll need to study hands more. I need to study hands. I need to study everything. I don't know how to draw anything. I don't know what anything looks like. I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, ever. I never know what I'm doing. I just kind of take in a deep breath and then wing it for the rest of the thing and hope that the villages with their pitchforks don't come and chase me out of the town like the disgusting Frankenstein's monster all of my drawings are. Ooh, no, but we're at the fun part. My favorite part in this entire picture, believe it or not, would be painting the little gemmies, the little gemmy sticky uppy thingies on her tail, whatever those are called. Those were the most fun thing to paint in this whole picture because they were easy. They were just soft, pretty, gemmy looking tail thingies, and they were really fun. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm like, why did I make the tail purple? I thought the tail was blue. And then maybe it is blue. I don't know. I kind of have trouble knowing what colors are. Oh, but here I'm just doing her little body tattoo thingies. I just roughed them over with a hard brush and then added it on a color layer. So I can just brush it all over that stuff without having to worry about painting them in individually. Just doing it on a color layer and shading them afterwards. And just to add a little bit of texture here, I just got my soft round brush and just dabbed in a little bit of a dab. Sorry, I actually dabbed there. Just dabbed in a little bit of a sparklies to make the picture a little more popish, to give it a little more texture, because I thought it looked nice having those cute little sparklies. Sparklies are cute. They make things look soft and nice and soft. I don't really like sparkles in real life, but I like them in pictures. Like, if I get sparkles on me in real life, I imagine I will just wilt into a puddle like the Wicked Witch of the West. But I'm pretty sure that it's at this point that I decided that the Neeko herself was pretty much done, and I decided to start working on the background more and rendering those cute little branches. And that's when I decided, you know what, branches are hard, and they're pretty difficult, so I just kind of roughed them in and put a bunch of light on them. And you know what I noticed upon looking back at this is that the little leafy blues at the top of this branch are really pokey, but as you go down the picture, they gradually get more and more circular because I forgot I was doing them pokey. I thought I was doing them like really circular looking. Maybe there's like some sort of plant that the closer it gets to the sun, it points up more to the sky. Maybe we can argue that as logic instead of just my my artistic inabilities of knowing what's going on ever at any point in time. So pretty much I just zoom in and I brush in what needs to be cleaned up and fixed so that the lighting is correct and so on. And I used a little bit of texture brushes on the trees so that I could give it a little bit of texture. I don't know which texture brush though. It looks like it's some sort of leafy type deal, but I just did it to give the branch texture, not the leaves themselves. The only texture the leaves have are from the oil brush, and I kind of smooth those out way too much. This is just sort of the mindless grunt work of just making sure that it looks okay and zooming in, cleaning it up mindlessly, zooming out, making sure it's better than what it was before, and adding pretty much all the little leafies are there for is compositional purposes. So I just kind of like zoomed in, gave it a little bit of a lighting, and then zoomed out and called it good, pretty much. And you know what? It was at this point that I was starting to listen to stories about cults. I don't remember which cult it was, though. Oh, you know what? It was the Solar Temple. I was listening to the stories about the Solar Temple cult while I was doing all of these. I know exactly what I was listening to for each part throughout all of this picture. Like, the hair, that was Star Trek reviews. The plants, that was cults. And for the hands, I think that was some sort of... What's the name of that series? Psycho. I was listening to reviews about Psycho. That was fun. It's pretty much all I listen to when I work anymore, is like I either listen to podcasts or movie reviews, because they're way more fun than music. Because music you can get really bored with, because if you know all the music already and you know exactly what's coming, then you can like count down the seconds that you're drawing, and that's not what I want for my distractions. I want to be engrossed. I want the time to pass so that I forget that I'm wasting my time drawing a picture. No, but this sure isn't perfect, but I'm really happy with it. I put a lot of work into it. I double checked it a bunch. I asked my friendos for critique, and they were kind enough to provide me their time to critique it, which was sweet of them. Get yourself some art friends if you don't have any. Just like push yourself into a group of people who do art and be like, hey, I make art too, and then ask them to critique you honestly until you somehow force yourself to get better, or at least attempt to. You need art friends. You can't, it's hard to just do things by yourself. You need to be critiqued from time to time, whether by people who you do know or don't know. But people you do know are the best, because you know it's coming from the heart, and you know they'll tell you if there's too many fingers on one hand or not. You know that they'll tell you that because they're your friends and it's coming from a certain place. And then at this point, I just grabbed another texture brush and I just added in some snowy flakes and started doing some adjustments to the background to make Neeko pop a bit more. Wanted to make it a little more dark so that she would pop, and added some final effects, which just adds a little bit of lighting to the scene, which is a couple of overlay layers and a difference layer on like 2 to 5%. Not really that much, just enough to make the entire scene look like it has a consistent color to it. Because that's what it is in real life, is there's just one consistent color going throughout the scene. And I'm making a little bit of adjustments on Neeko's skin last minute before I consider it good. Oh yeah, and I redid her eyes. Her eyes were bugging me. I mean, they're still bad, but yay, look at it. It's beautiful. Ugh. Sorry, I just swallowed my own tongue in that process. It's beautiful. Look at it. It's 9 hours of work. I hope someone can enjoy it. Thank you very, very much for watching. May you have a good day or morning or night or whatever.